And now for some regulatory updates.
As many of you know from previous years, the California Consumer Privacy Act, to which Buckingham is subject to, is a groundbreaking privacy law that gives certain rights and consumer protections to California residents. This law went into effect on January 1st, 2020. As a refresher, the California Consumer Privacy Act gives California residents the right to know about the personal information collected about them and how it is used and shared, the right to delete the personal information collected about them, and the right to opt out of the sale of their personal information. This law brought about certain changes to Buckingham, including a California consumer privacy policy, which details how requests for the previous rights can be obtained, a California employee privacy policy for those associates living in California, the record retention policy, and our continual update of the data inventory project, what, how, why, and where information is stored across Buckingham. A few items to note: the California Privacy Rights Act, CPRA, enhanced version of the California Consumer Privacy Act, went into effect January 1st, 2023. This law added additional rights for California residents, including the right to correct inaccurate personal information, the right to limit the use and disclosure of sensitive personal information, the right to storage limitation and data minimization, and the right to know the logic involved in automated decision making technology and object. Buckingham made updates to all privacy related documents and procedures previously mentioned.
We'll next talk about the evolving landscape. Let's talk about some important rule changes from last year and sort of a look over the horizon at what's to come. So some landmark rules last year, inclusive of a new marketing rule, which hasn't been updated in the last 30 years. The Department of Labor came out with a new interpretation of the prohibited transaction exemption rule. And then also there's a push to have investment advisor representatives, which is a large portion of those listening to this call, be required to have additional continuing education requirements on an annual basis. Right now, there's only about 10 states that will require this. If you are an advisor within those states, you would have heard from our compliance team by now. But more to come. This number will continue to grow over the years. There's also a number of rules that have been proposed and are in a pending state right now. One is a formal cybersecurity rule. So the SEC actually doesn't have, as I said, a formal written rule as it relates to cybersecurity. There's a proposal in the works right now that would actually require firms to do certain things, testing, controls, policies, as it relates to cybersecurity. Buckingham has already been adhering to the components of this rule for years and years. This would likely just impact smaller advisory firms who may not have some of these cybersecurity controls in place. There's a pending rule as it relates to privacy. Amanda just talked about CCPA. Privacy is a huge focus within our space. So there's some additional controls and testing that will be required and an evolution of this regulation SP. And then lastly is just what we're going to call evolution of the custody rule, or custody 2.0. The SEC hasn't updated this rule in a number of years, so there's some edits to that rule to make that rule more modern and make more sense for our sort of current advisory space.
Next, we'll discuss the 2023 SEC examination priorities. While all of these topics are important, the items below will highlight three that are especially relevant to our business model. First, we'll begin with the new marketing rule. The division will assess if RIAs have adopted and implemented written policies and procedures. The SEC will observe whether firms have complied with the requirements of the marketing rule, including the ability to substantiate material statements of fact and the requirements for performance advertising, testimonials, endorsements, and third-party ratings. Next, we'll move to the standards of conduct. We'll start with the fiduciary duty. The staff will focus on investment advice and recommendations related to products, strategies, and account types. The SEC will review disclosures made to investors to ensure that they include all material facts and conflicts of interest. Next, we'll move to the Form CRS. The staff will continue to prioritize core examinations. The CRS must be delivered to new, prospective clients and existing retail investors. This must be on file with the Commission and be posted to the firm's website. Next, we'll talk about the information security and operational resiliency. The SEC will review firms' practice to prevent interruption to mission-critical services and to protect investors' information, records, and assets. Vigilant protection of data is critical to the operation of the financial markets and the confidence of the investors. A few of the focus areas for examinations of RIAs include custody and safekeeping of client assets, valuation, portfolio management, and brokerage and execution services, calculations of fees, alternative ways that RIAs might be trying to maximize revenue, including revenue earned on clients' bank deposit sweeps and excessive fees. Finally, the policies and procedures for retaining and monitoring electronic communications and the selection of using third-party service providers. Next, we will highlight a few important risk alerts issued by the SEC. We will start with the prevention of identity theft. In assessing compliance with Regulation SID as it relates to identity theft, staff observed many firms did not establish effective programs designed to detect, prevent, and mitigate identity theft for covered accounts. The program must also contain policies and procedures to ensure that the program is updated to stay current with risks to customers. From a Buckingham perspective, we highlight identity theft red flags within our policies and procedures. Specifically, we mitigate the risk of identity theft through training, established workflows and processes, examining trends, custodian controls and partnerships, prompt reporting from the front lines, and having robust policies and procedures. Third-party vendors undergo risk assessment during onboarding and periodically thereafter. All employees attest to reading and understanding the policies and procedures annually. Next, we will move to safeguarding customer records and information at the branch offices. In assessing compliance with the Safeguards Rule, regulators observed that while many firms implemented policies and procedures for safeguarding customer records and information for their main home office, they often did not do so for branch offices. Some of these concern areas include vendor management, email configuration, data classification, access management, and technology risk. From a Buckingham perspective, we believe we have adequate policies and procedures in place that includes enterprise-level uniformity related to all employees and offices. Firm-wide risk is mitigated by the vetting of vendors and the centralization of software by the systems team. Further on-site review comes from regional office reviews by the compliance team and/or advisory team leadership.
It's Weekend Update with Jeff Yorg and Sal Papa.
Good evening, everybody.
Welcome. This is Weekend Update, and I'm Jeff York.
And I'm Sal Papa. Last month, the Buckingham cybersecurity team sent out a simulated phishing test to a subset of employees that spoofed a Ticketmaster website offering free tickets to Taylor Swift's record-setting The Eras Tour. Just like the real Ticketmaster site, Buckingham's internal systems crashed for a number of hours due to the highest click rate we have seen to date on phishing scenarios. The number of clicks actually outmatched the number of employees we actually have. All employees who fell for the trap are now required to go through additional cybersecurity training. Talk about a cruel summer.
In other news, moving on to yet more awkward situations, in an effort to enhance client education, Buckingham is restarting the Lessons with Larry series that was successful back in 2019. This did not get off to a great start, and frankly, it was awkward as clients were ready to talk about factor-based investing, but instead, Larry showed up in athletic gear and a sweatband, ready to play pickleball.
The St. Louis Post-Dispatch once again ranked Buckingham Wealth Partners as a top workplace for the 8th year in a row. This really serves as a testament to Buckingham's culture and solidifies Buckingham as a destination for both employees and advisors alike. The list is based solely on employee feedback gathered through a third-party survey. Dawn Lovelace wanted to specifically thank the systems and the development team for their continued efforts in building out the Buckingham Bot and AI platform to help bump up our scores over the years. Talk about a passion to progress.
And in talking about effort, as many of you have seen from the OKR updates that seem to come out weekly, shared by Rob and Justin, Buckingham is currently on target with our year-end bonus pool objective. Finishing this project will help achieve one of the firm's 4 main objectives for 2023, to expand our business to positively impact more advisors and end clients. Now, navigating within Viva goals to find the particular bonus pool progress can sometimes be a bit tricky, so we figured we would share a visual update. Guess that all explains the construction that is currently going around the entire St. Louis building.
Some of the largest US financial companies are wedging themselves into TikTok, the youth-oriented social media platform, for a piece of the action with all those dynamic and fun videos. Independent FinTok influencers can amass millions of followers, and these firms know that the next generation of customers is flocking towards the app for financial advice. The marketing and client development teams started rolling out some initial videos, but really hit it big time with what is turning out to be the next big dance and fashion trend. Jeffrey Levine's You Can Trust Us Hammer Dance is taking the internet by storm and has converted 10 new qualified leads already. Jeff is actually working on the next dance for the posting on TikTok and has recruited the compliance team to join. Let me show you a few of the moves. Too legit to quit.
Sal, I don't know how to follow that one, much less Jeffrey's dance moves. But with the help from the leadership and systems teams, our team in compliance has helped to totally revamp Buckingham's disaster recovery plan and incident response team, or IRT. The IRT has been meeting quarterly to perform tabletop exercises to ensure that in the event of any significant business disruption, our business operations will resume and continue as quickly and efficiently as possible. Luckily, there is one business disruption that we have plenty of experience with and will probably continue to, and it'll be ready for any moment. Concur going through an outage. For Weekends Update, I'm Jeff York.
And I'm Sal Papa. Have a good night.